I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, January the 9th, brought to you in part by Therapease. There is only one patented appeasing pheromone, and that is Therapease. It is field tested and scientifically tested. Both prove that it works. I've got testimonials from countless people, some of the most stubborn guys that I know that have used it and have agreed that it works. They won't wean or move cattle or put them under stress or AI heifers or things like that without using Therapease. Tell you what, guys, it is as high as these cattle are. It takes the anxiety away and it helps them perform no matter what they're doing. You can't afford not to use it. Watch the video at the end of this episode of the Feeder Flash. It's an interview with Dr. Rodrigo and I back this summer where he's talking about how it works there, guys. But for more information, go to Therapease.com. Also, Unionville Livestock Market in north central Missouri and Creston Livestock Market in south central Iowa. Both of them had big specials this past week. Both of them were high enough to be recognized as stick-out sales on the Feeder Flash. Just amazing, amazing what these cattle are bringing, and they're bringing it in both Unionville and Creston also. Unionville's got a special bred cow and bred heifer sale coming up on Saturday here, the 10th. It is going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning. They've got several really nice consignments of bred cows and bred heifers. John Johnson's got 140 fancy black bred cows. They're running ages. They start calving in March. We've got more bred cows coming from the Anderson Land and Cattle Outfit, C-Bar K, Lucas Fagan, John McKinney, and Ray Bradley have all got fancy bred cows to sell there. And then we've got several consignments of fancy bred heifers, as good as you can find anywhere. David Callahan's got some. Lucas Fagan's got some of those. Danny Bankus has got some of those, guys. Don't miss out on that special bred cow sale here on Saturday, this Saturday the 10th at 11 o'clock in the morning. It'll be on DVAuction.com. If you can't make it to the sale, they got a special calf and yearling sale coming up on Tuesday the 13th also. Now up in Creston Livestock Market, they're going to have weigh-ups today here on Friday, a regular weigh-up sale and odd cattle there, and then having a special all vaccinated calf and yearling sale coming up Wednesday the 14th. They'll have many outstanding consignments there, and then they're having a special bred cow and heifer sale coming up on January the 28th. All those sales will be on DVAuction.com. Don't forget to check them out. Grazing rush in January. The grazing is not too good anywhere right now. Tell you what, it's winter time. We're in a drought in most areas, especially in cattle country. The center third of the country pretty much in a drought right now. But the drought is a good time to have one is in the winter time, of course. But the dry land wheat's about played out. The grass is gone. But people are buying their grazing cattle right now because they know that the supplies of anything light enough to graze will be so tight coming up here in March and April that you won't be able to get anything bought, and they'll be so high that you can't believe it. Won't be able to get any numbers put together, let alone any numbers of quality put together. But these stocker buyers are losing their minds in the sale barns this week, right up through Thursday here, just as higher. Every day of the week they've been a little bit higher, and we thought we had seen the top last October or maybe last December, whenever it come back up from that little lull it had in November. We thought those were the highest prices we'd ever seen, but we're seeing higher prices on your grazing type cattle. Now your bigger feeding cattle, they've kind of planed out. I mean, they're awfully high, selling really good, but have kind of saw the top on their middle of this week, have not gone much higher. But your grazing types all the way up through your 7 weights and your replacement heifers, especially the 6 and 7 weight replacement heifers, selling really, really well. A lot of people looking for those. They are keeping heifers back. Tell you what, Ogallala Livestock Auction had a big sale on Thursday, over 7,000 head. Most of the heifers sold for replacements. They sold so many replacement heifers, and they were sending them back to the vet to get work done to them. The vet there in Ogallala ran out of the calf food vaccination tags, which are RFID tags now. They're not just the little orange clips, but they are, and that is one class of cattle that has to have the electronic ID tags, and they pushed that on us. Got that done. It's on heifers that are going to be kept for breeding, any breeding age bulls, all dairy cattle. You know, they were really trying to push that on all classes of cattle here about 3 years ago, but we kind of got it stopped with the help from your common sense cattlemen's associations, most of them through the southeast there. But of course, Southern Plains was trying to do that. That's who runs the NCBA and Kansas Livestock Association, Texas Cattle Feeders, and Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers pooled their votes, and we're going to get that pushed in on us, mandatory electronic ID. But they didn't get that done, so we're still not doing it. We still probably think it's coming at some point, but we can ask our friends up in Canada how they like it. They've had mandatory electronic ID tags here for several years, and now the rest of the hammer's coming down right now. They are going to be having mandatory traceability. So anytime they move their cattle now, they've got to log it within 7 days on a computer where those cattle have been moved to. It's all producers, all classes of cattle. Anytime they move cattle around, it's especially a pain in the ass if you've got show cattle or rodeo cattle or sorting cattle or something like that. It's a huge pain in the ass. I'm glad we don't have it yet. I hope we don't ever get it. The friends up there in Canada are hating it. They're hating life right now, having to adapt to that new thing, and they're calling it about traceability. I think it's just about tracking what you're doing and how many cattle you got out there, so maybe they can tax them later. Tell you what, we've gotten along pretty well with traceability. We're even tracing, you know, screw worms down in old Mexico, guys. We can track stuff down if we absolutely need to, but and that traceability and that electronic ID mandatory thing, if it's not 100%, it's not worth doing, because if only 99% of them get traced, it's not worth doing. But I tell you what, that deal is probably coming. We'll see if any of it comes up at the NCBA convention that's coming up here in just a couple of weeks, whether they start talking about that or not. But we sure got to beat that stuff down as hard as we can. Let's talk about Lynn's Heritage Angus sale is coming up on January the 15th, guys. Buy a bull that is backed by a fundamental cow herd with proper structure, muscle, and maternal ability. Lynn's Heritage wants to see you maintain the maternal strength in your the backing of your herd. So get some good bulls in there, raise some good heifers, raise some good cows, keep them, make your herd better altogether, guys. That sale is coming up January the 15th in Byers, Oklahoma. It's going to be on DVAuction.com. I'm going to be there to broadcast that sale and take the online bids, so don't miss that sale. Also, I want to talk to you about Nebraska Land Brokers. Dwayne McLean up there has got Nebraska Land Brokers. Get online, go to nebraskalandbrokers.com. Got a really nice ranch up there he's going to be selling at auction here later this month. It's on Highway 97 in the Sand Hills of Nebraska, just north of North Platte, Nebraska. And big enough to do something with, guys. 4,750 acres right there in the Sand Hills of Nebraska, where they raise the best cattle in the world. They're going to be selling that land at auction on January the 21st. Be sure and check it out. Find out what you need to do to get approved to bid on that sale. It's going to be on nebraskalandbrokers.com. Check it out. Let's talk about your board for Thursday. February live cattle futures were up 75 cents at 235.27. April was up 105 at 236.22. Your back months on live cattle futures were up $1.40 to up 162, so pretty consistent gains there. Not as much as we saw earlier in the week, but still pretty good. January feeder cattle up 287, so that was another big gain at 362.47. It's having to run because it's got to get in line with your cash index levels here before the end of the month, and it is lagging quite a ways behind. And with them jumping $2 or $3 every day, it's going to have to jump $2 or $3 every day. March feeder cattle contracts up 222 at 357.72. Your back months on feeder cattle up, but not nearly as much as your nearbys. Back months on feeder cattle contracts are up 62 cents to up $1.95. Look at your grains. Corn for March down a penny at 4.45 3/4 cents a bushel. Beans for March down 5 3/4 cents a bushel at 10.61 1/4. Hard red winter wheat for March down 1 3/4 cents a bushel at 5.29 3/4. Your fat cattle trade, we started to see some more cattle trade on a direct basis in your major negotiated trade areas there. Iowa sold 3,100 head negotiated cash on Thursday, 3,900 for the week, so not much more than that earlier in the week. But live prices in Iowa on Thursday were 228 to 232, and most all 232. Pretty much everything. It was just one or two little deals that were less than that, but 232. That would be fully steady with the top of last week's market. Your dress prices were $365 dressed, and that would be $5 higher. Nebraska sold 3,100. That's all they'd sold all week. Negotiated cash in Nebraska. Live price in Nebraska on Thursday, $232. It was mostly in western Nebraska. Dress sales $363 to most all $365. Kansas didn't have any sales on Thursday. Most of the sellers there were wanting $235. They never got it. Got bid $232 all day by everybody that was bidding. Everybody passed it. They wanted more than that. Probably would have sold cattle at $234, but we're asking mostly $235. Couldn't get to it. May get that done on Friday here. We'll just have to wait and see. Box beef cutout values were higher on Thursday. Choice cuts were up 251 at 356.79. Select cuts up 278 at 352.06. Your slaughter up through Thursday of this week, estimated cattle slaughter was 465,000. Can't compare it to last week because of the holiday, but compared to the same week a year ago up to this point, we were down 11,000, which is not nearly as bad as we've been most of the weeks here lately. Actual slaughter information come back for the week ending December the 27th, had your average dressed steer carcass weight at 894 pounds. Talk about what else is going on. DVAuction does a lot of production sales, guys. We do more than the next 2 or 3 competitors we have put together. We've got our big spring bull sales here coming up. If you guys have a production sale, you are missing buyers if you don't do it with DVAuction, guys. We invite you to do it. We can get to your sale, get on our schedule right now where they're coming in like droves right now. All of our regular customers coming in. We're getting some new ones too. But we can take care of you too. Get a hold of us, get on our schedule, and we'll make sure we've got somebody there to do your bull sale there live on site. Take your bids. If you're already doing it with another broadcaster, get on there and add us. It'll be worth it. We're going to get more bids and we're going to sell more bulls than anybody else that does it. I tell you what, been doing it for over 25 years. But we have our DVAuction production sale report here to let you know how we've been getting along. December is not a big month for production sales, but we did have several. Give you the DVAuction production sale report for December. We had bids of 13,648 on our DVAuction consoles there at our production sales. This doesn't count the 150 sale barns, commercial sale barns we report. This is just the production sales. We sold 2,700 lots in our production sales on DVAuction and had purchases that totaled 19,500 or 19.5 million, excuse me, 19.5 million. So be sure and get on to DVAuction, get a hold of us, get your production sale booked, guys. It's sure worth it. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood, guys. Your real-time index from DVAuction at the end of the day on Thursday, after all your sales had concluded, was sitting at 368.79. That was up 5 cents a hundred. So it's pretty much steady there. But holding all the gains we had this week was way over $10 or $12 we gained on our index, and that's a 7-day moving average. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index has finally caught up with your real-time index, and it's sitting at 368.07. Talking about your big sales that happened on Thursday, Ogallala Livestock Auction in Ogallala, Nebraska. They had over 7,000 head. Big time sale. Quality was outstanding. Hadn't had a sale covered there for about 3 weeks, so didn't have any trends, but I mean the prices were just sharply higher, and they had a lot of replacement heifers like I mentioned earlier. Nearly all the heifers in Ogallala sold for replacement. But Ogallala was your Superior Steel Sales home of superior standard livestock handling equipment. Stick out sale of the day. You look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. You look at your best tested weights, and let's go down through them there. They had 293 head of 4-weight steers in Ogallala. They averaged 463 pounds at 531.60 on the weighted average. 792 head of the 5-weight steers averaged 557 at 478 and a quarter. There were 1,041 head of the 6-weight steer calves. They averaged 651 at 425.18. 951 head of the 7-weight steers averaged 730 at 391.21, and 843 head of the 8-weight steers averaged 834 pounds at 361.19. On 850 nearly 8 weights averaged 361.19 in Ogallala. Wow. How about 279 head of the 9-weight steers? They averaged 934 at 348.83. Now look at the heifers, and mind you, these are mostly replacement heifers, and you can tell because most of the weighted averages are higher than the comparable steer weights. But 300 on the lighter ones, not so much replacements, but anything over 6. 374 head of the 4-weight heifers averaged 463. Weighted average price $499.06. 917 head of the 5-weight heifers averaged 551 at 462.98. Now we're getting into the replacements. 940 head of the 6-weight heifers, mostly going back to become cows, averaged 640 pounds on the 6 weights. Weighted average price was $424.56. Wow. 574 head of the 7-weight heifers averaged 735, most of them going back to be cows, with a weighted average price of $392.12, and that is a bit higher than what your steers had a weighted average of, weighing in the 7s. 197 head of the 8-weight heifers averaged 813, with a weighted average price of $398.87. Very impressive sale in Ogallala, Nebraska. The most impressive individual quote was 129 replacement heifers. They weighed 813 and bring $4 a pound. Wow. Joplin wean vac sale they had on Thursday. I talked to Jackie on Thursday. He was pretty excited there. They had a biggest week of receipts he'd ever had with that monster sale he had on Monday, big cow sale on Wednesday, and then had 6,700 at his wean vac special on Thursday, guys. And I tell you what, everything that he sold there this week was high. You'd have to call it high, guys. Now, compared to Monday's sale, the wean vac sale there on Thursday had steers selling $6 to $14 higher, and heifers bringing steady to $6 higher. That's just for Monday, guys. But that's pretty much the way it's been. It's just been higher all week. give you some individual quotes from all around that I thought were impressive. How about Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, North Dakota? Look at these Hereford steers here from the Wolfgram Herefords there. There was 97 head of them, weighed 617, and they bring 457.50 in Dickinson, North Dakota. Wow. How about Valentine Livestock Auction in Valentine, Nebraska? They sold 50 steers, weighed 869 at 362. That's getting pretty close to 900 pounds, guys. Joplin Weenback, you know, you think they're commodity cattle, they can't have a stick out sale. They get them in there, they can sell anything for market value, including the really, really nice yearling steers here. They had 50 head of them, weighed 817 and bring 377, weighing over 800 pounds, guys. How about Clarinda, Iowa? Clarinda Livestock Auction had a good sale on Thursday, including 59 steers that weighed 740 and bring 388.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas. It was 96 steer calves, weighed 504 and bring 559.50. My goodness. Big time week, guys, in high prices. We'll see if they continue and if we get any weather, if they can hold up, if we get any wintry weather here coming up. That's your feeder flash for Friday.
Treated animals received a dose of Therapease when they got processed at arrival, and a second one when they were reimplanted. They were fed for a period of 138 days total. So when they were brought back to be reimplanted, a second dose of Therapease were applied on the treatment group. And first of all, mortality rate on the control animals was 3%. Mortality rate on the treated animals was 1.5%. So just the reduction in mortality rate, 1.5 steer, and I paid a lot of money for these steers.
They're high dollars.
They're high dollars. Would have a return over investment of 1 to 4 by using Therapease. That's just the icing of the cake, because the bulk of the benefits were performance. The cattle that were treated with Therapease ate more, but they gained more weight, and they finished with their hot carcass weights being almost 16 pounds. It was 15.6 pounds more hot carcass weight on the treated animals compared to the control animals.
Now, some people may not think that's a lot, but when you're feeding cattle in a commercial environment, the margins are so tight.
Yep.
That's huge. 16 pounds on the rail, that is huge.
That is huge.
Yes.
That is huge. But not only that,
especially for such a small investment, and it's not a big deal to apply the product.
It's not a big deal to apply the product. It's a small investment. We're accomplishing all of this because the cattle is feeling better. You know, we're improving the well-being of the animals, and they're returning with health and productivity. Now, the one thing that was incredible is we also increase carcass quality. Now, Therapease, by decreasing stress and increasing intake, it gives you the pounds, 16 pounds of hot carcass weight, but it also increases carcass quality. So marbling significantly increased.
Well, there's a correlation between excited cattle. They don't marble as well.
That's right.
As calmer cattle. So naturally that would happen.
That would happen. Yeah. And we dropped the...
You got higher marbling scores.
Higher marbling scores.
It's going to give better quality grade.
You got it.
More return on their grid if you're selling them on the grid.
If you're selling them on the grid, which the majority of the cattle in the U.S. is sold on the grid. If you're selling them on live weight, they were 25 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So you're making money. If you're selling them on the grid, there's 15.5 pounds of hot carcass weight. There's more Choice Plus. The Choice Plus was increased by almost 10 percentage points. So we dropped the percentage of select carcasses from 10% to 5%.
That's huge.
So there's a lot of money in improving carcass quality. That was the result. So long story short, low-risk cattle still suffer stress. Now you're paying not with mortality and disease, because those cattle do not get the pneumonia, and respiratory disease that
You
high
don't
risk
expect
cattle.
them to.
You
Long
don't expect,
yearlings, especially single source,
they usually do
normally
good.
don't have any trouble. But it's still,
Costing you.
yes. And
Still costing you in production and quality.
yeah.
So eliminating stress with Therapease for low-risk cattle will give you more pounds, will give you more intake, which is, you know, converted to more heavier carcasses, but also better quality carcasses too.